The Trailblazer learns about the upcoming Holy Grail War on Penacony, a strange and foggy memory from a past adventure. Robin appears with a gift from Odie, the very Holy Grail from the event, now rendered harmless. This relic sparks a conversation about wishes and past events. The rules of the Holy Grail War are laid out. Participants known as Masters will receive a special tattoo, a command seal, granting them the ability to summon a servant. These servants are heroic figures from Penacony's history, bound to fight alongside their masters for the ultimate prize. Odie, head of the Alfalfa family, publicly announces the Holy Grail War. He presents it as a grand entertainment spectacle for Penacony, an all-purpose wishing machine brought to the planet of dreams. He assures the public that the battles will be safe, harmless displays of power within the dreamscape. An IPC employee named Scott reveals his humble wish for participating in the war, to achieve a P45 rank within the company. Odie finds the wish shabby, but prefers its tangible nature over grandiose desires for universal peace, seeing it as a more grounded and relatable goal for his spectacle. Odie reveals his true ambition for the Holy Grail War. He doesn't desire a single wish for himself. His goal is far grander. He wants to establish the war as a permanent entertainment fixture for Penacony, attracting universal attention, investment, and an endless stream of dreamers to the planet. Scott introduces his summoned servant, the assassin-class Mr. Rekka, who prefers to be called Grady. Grady, a film director in his past life, possesses unique abilities tied to his profession. Scott believes that with Grady's power, he can finally triumph over his old enemies, particularly the Trailblazer. Aventurine discusses the Holy Grail War with his associate, expressing his deep skepticism. He sees Odie's event as a ridiculous scam, but an interesting one. He's not interested in the Grail itself, but in the people desperately fighting for it, viewing them as potential clients or assets for the IPC. Robin explains her unexpected participation in the Holy Grail War. She received an invitation intended for the residents of Dreamleaf and decided to enter to prevent the Dreamscape's inhabitants from being manipulated by Odie's brand and likely dangerous scheme. She feels a responsibility to intervene. The renowned Galaxy Ranger Goothill is revealed to be another participant, causing immense fear in Scott. It is clear Scott has a troubled history with Boovhill and the Rangers. Aventurine, however, sees this as an opportunity for Scott to face his fears and prove his worth in the tournament. Scott and Grady identify the Trailblazer as their most hated adversary and plan their first move. Knowing the Trailblazer is about to perform their summoning ritual, they decide to launch a surprise attack, aiming to eliminate their rival before they can even secure a servant for the war. As the Trailblazer chants the summoning spell, the ritual dramatically fails and no servant appears. Scott and his allies mock the Trailblazer's failure, seeing it as the perfect opportunity to strike. They believe the Trailblazer is now completely defenseless and ripe for an easy elimination from the war. With the Trailblazer summoning having failed, Scott seizes the moment to attack, intending to pay back all his past humiliations. He declares that the difference between having a servant and not is like fighting in a pallid suit versus being naked, believing his victory is now assured against the vulnerable master. Just as Scott's forces overwhelm the Trailblazer, a mysterious Lancer-class servant appears and unexpectedly wipes out the attacking extras. However, this new servant is not an ally and immediately turns their attention to the Trailblazer, declaring their Holy Grail War is over before it even truly began. In a moment of dire crisis, the Trailblazer's command seals flare to life and their true servant finally manifests. A knight in shining armor appears, introducing herself as the Saber-class servant, Altria Kendragon. She immediately steps in to protect her new master from the hostile Lancer. Saber reveals her origins to the Trailblazer, explaining that she is not a historical figure from Penacony, but the former Night King of Camelot from another world. She finds the mana in this new world staggering and must consume large amounts of food to maintain her physical form and power. Aventurine and the Trailblazers groups meet, realizing a startling truth. Their servants, Archer and Saber, are not from Penacony's history, but are outsiders from another world, likely the same one. This discovery suggests the Holy Grail War is fundamentally flawed and not operating as Odie advertised to the public. The servants from another world deduce the nature of this flawed Grail War. They surmise the Grail is not using traditional magic, but some other power source, and Odie has turned the typically secret ritual into a public spectacle. They decide to investigate the organizer to find the truth. Robin summons her servant, a caster who appears as a forgotten actress. The caster cannot speak her own name, as it has been registered as a trademark, a symbol of her tragic past. Robin, sympathetic to her plight, suggests she adopt the name Northgirl for the duration of the war. The Allied Masters receive a cryptic message seemingly from Boot Hill asking them to meet at Clark Filmland. Robin and the Trailblazer suspect it might be a trap, but decide to go, hoping they can rescue Boot Hill and form a stronger alliance to confront the other Nasters and Odie. Robin and the Trailblazer meet up with their servants, Northgirl and Saber, formally establishing their alliance. They share a meal and discuss their situations, solidifying their trust. Their goal is to understand the true nature of this strange Holy Grail War before any other participants are harmed. Robin's brother once said that Penacony has legends but no true heroes, only figures inflated by popular imagination. However, the appearance of Saber and Northgirl, tangible beings from the past and another world, challenges this notion, suggesting real heroes have finally arrived in the dreamscape. The group discusses the suspicious message from Boot Hill, concluding that the polite and cryptic wording is completely out of character for the brash ranger. They realize it must be a trap set by another master, using Boot Hill's name to lure them into a carefully prepared ambush at Clark Filmland. At Clark Filmland, Scott and his servant Grady finally reveal themselves. Scott, seeing Aventurine with the wanted criminal Boot Hill, is shocked. He unleashes his servant, the director Grady, who is ready to capture the ensuing chaos on film, turning the confrontation into a scene from one of his movies. Scott reveals his bitter history with Aventurine. He blames the Stoneheart for his demotion and transfer to a barbaric land, leading to his career's ruin. Now, as a master in the Holy Grail War, he sees his chance for revenge, declaring himself an avenger who will triumph. Grady activates his noble Phantasm, trapping everyone within a pocket dimension that perfectly replicates the set of a horror movie he once directed. He gleefully announces that Scott will play the role of the monstrous killer, while the heroes are now merely side characters destined for a gruesome end. Empowered by Grady's noble Phantasm, Scott fully embraces his role as the horror movie's main villain. Wielding two chainsaws, he becomes the slasher antagonist, confident that his prey cannot escape his territory. He relishes the power and the opportunity to terrorize his former superior, Aventurine. Scott's power within the movie dimension continues to grow, allowing his body to split and multiply. He transforms from a single killer into a pack of wolves, the scout of 1,000 faces. He boasts that he is everywhere, ready to tear his enemies apart from the shadows and their dreams. Despite his power, Scott's true nature as a coward is revealed. He berates his own clones for hiding behind him, showing his insecurity. Grady, the true power behind the illusion, offers Scott more strength, promising to crush their opponents with the power of a real devil, not just an actor. In a bizarre twist, a part of Scott's consciousness, seemingly representing a sliver of justice within him, splits off. This new persona, speaking with a frog-like tick, claims to be burning with rage against the evil Scott and wishes to join the heroes to save Robin from the monster he has become. The good Scott persona is shockingly revealed to be another layer of the deception. After luring the heroes into a trap under the guise of justice, he reveals it was all an act. The entire performance was a ruse, orchestrated with Grady to get the heroes to lower their guard. Aventurine deduces the secret to defeating Grady's noble Phantasm. He realizes the true monster isn't Scott, but the director behind the camera. By understanding that Grady is always focused on the monster, he could see Grady's presence within Scott, allowing him to bypass the movie's rules and confront the director directly. Defeated, Grady accepts his loss gracefully, impressed by Aventurine's intellect. As a final act of fan service, he reveals Odie's plan. The organizer is waiting for them at the Grand Theater, along with the Holy Grail, for the final act of this elaborate and dangerous performance. Lancer, Boothill's servant, deduces how Odie's ritual works. Without real magic on Panicani, Odie turned the secret Grail war into a public spectacle. The belief and wishes of the audience watching the program became the fuel, the false miracle that powered the Grail and summoned the servants. At the Grand Theater, it is revealed that Northgirl is now working with Odie. Her wish is to have her works and name erased from history. In exchange for granting this, Odie has tasked her with stopping the heroes. She promises to keep them occupied until Odie's ceremony is complete. Northgirl unleashes her own noble Phantasm, a powerful illusion that traps each of the heroes in a personalized dream world. These illusions are based on their deepest regrets and the pivotal choices of their past, forcing them to confront paths not taken and the lives they could have lived. Saber finds herself transported back to her past in Britain, just before the moment she drew the sword from the stone. The illusion tempts her with the choice to abandon her destiny as king, offering her a peaceful, ordinary life, free from the pain and sacrifice she endured. Within her dream, Saber reflects on her lifelong desire to be the ideal king who could save Britain. She pulled the sword believing it would bring peace, but it only led to more conflict. The illusion forces her to question if another more suitable person should have taken up the mantle. Northgirl's voice tempts Saber to abandon her heroic path, to lay down the sword and the burden of being a king. The illusion offers her a happy, ordinary life as a simple girl, a chance to erase all the suffering she has been through and simply be a spectator to history. The Trailblazer is thrust into an alternate reality where they refuse the Astral Express's invitation. Instead of grand adventures, their life is one of a mundane, low-level researcher at the Herta space station, filled with endless paperwork and a deep sense of unfulfilled potential and regret. In their illusionary life, the Trailblazer feels a profound sense of regret. They lament choosing a safe, boring path over one of adventure. The dream preys on this feeling, suggesting that if they had made a different choice, they wouldn't be so depressed and unfulfilled in their current dreary existence. Himeko appears in the Trailblazer's dream, providing an update on the Astral Express crew in this alternate timeline. Dan Heng has returned home, Welt has left to find his own way back, and March 7th's fate is tragically unresolved, highlighting the lonely path the Trailblazer chose. Robin tells Northgirl the story of a bird, a singer who was imprisoned for making songs the powerful disliked. The bird eventually escaped, but found its art and life commodified. This story mirrors Northgirl's own past, where her name and legacy were stolen by corporate greed. The Trailblazer is presented with a final choice in their dream: accept their mundane life or chase after the departing Astral Express. They must decide if they truly believe they are a nameless, a hero destined for the stars, or just an ordinary person who made the safe choice. The Trailblazer realizes that being a hero isn't about avoiding regret, but about making a choice and stepping forward, even on a journey with no destination. This foolishness, this willingness to step into the unknown, is what truly creates heroes. They reaffirm their identity and begin to break the illusion. Saber also confronts her past. She accepts that while someone else might have been a worthy king, she cannot blame the young girl who pulled the sword only wanting to save her people. She decides to embrace her past self and surpass her, choosing her path once more without regret. Both the Trailblazer and Saber, having faced their pasts, reject the peaceful but false dreams offered to them. They choose their difficult, real lives filled with hardship but also purpose. Their resolve allows them to shatter the illusions and return to the theater for the final confrontation. Witnessing their resolve, Robin uses her command spells not to control her servant, but to free her. She bestows upon Northgirl the freedom she was denied in life, returning her name and acknowledging her as a true hero who inspired others, finally breaking Odie's hold over her. The heroes finally confront Odie. He scoffs at their assumptions about his motives, like seeking immortality. He plainly states his goal from the beginning was purely business. The Holy Grail War was never about wishes. It was about creating a new, explosive economic growth engine for Penacony. Odie declares that money, not dreams or wishes, is the true foundation of Penacony and the galaxy. The Holy Grail is simply a bird that lays golden eggs, a business project to generate immense profit. He revels in the spectacle of people desperately fighting for a prize he manufactured for entertainment. The masters and servants unanimously reject Odie's cynical worldview and his offer to join him. Saber declares that what's important is the path taken to save something, not the prize. They resolve to destroy the corrupt Holy Grail and end Odie's twisted game for good. For the final battle, Odie plays his last card. He reveals he performed a summoning ritual for himself. His servant is a reflection of how history perceives him, not as a great leader, but as a greedy, monstrous pest, a bug gnawing at the foundations of Penacony for profit. The Allied forces engage in a final climactic battle against Odie's servant. Together, they overwhelm the monstrous manifestation of greed and successfully destroy the Holy Grail. With the power source gone, the theater begins to crumble, and the Holy Grail War finally comes to an end. With the Holy Grail dismantled, the servants from another world, Saber, Archer, and Lancer begin to fade away. Their connection to this world severed, they share their final goodbyes with their masters. Archer and Aventurine part ways with their usual witty banter, their temporary alliance concluded. In her final moments, Saber offers some parting wisdom to the Trailblazer. She tells them not to be ashamed of fear or regret, as those are human feelings. She expresses her belief that despite their anxieties, the Trailblazer will one day become a star that illuminates the entire galaxy. In the aftermath, Odie is unperturbed. He reveals the entire Holy Grail War was recorded and edited by Grady into a dream bubble movie. The film became a commercial blockbuster, meaning Odie profited immensely from this failed scheme anyway, turning even his defeat into a lucrative business venture. Freed from her past, Northgirl, now calling herself by her true name, confronts Odie one last time. She signs away the rights to her tragic story, allowing him to profit from it, but not before delivering a moving and final curse, telling the merchant to go to hell. The Trailblazer has a final bittersweet vision of Pom Pom on the Astral Express. Pom Pom promises that the Express will always be a home for the nameless, no matter where their journey takes them. It's a promise of reunion and a reminder of the family the Trailblazer has found. The war concludes, with the movie of the events becoming a massive success across the universe, sparking a new dream-chasing boom. Odie and the IPC make a fortune, easily paying off any fines or complaints with their profits. The Holy Grail War becomes another strange chapter in Penacony's history. In the end, Robin poses the central question of the program to the Trailblazer one last time. If they had an item that could truly grant any wish, what would they wish for? The story concludes on this thoughtful, open-ended note. leaving the audience and the hero to ponder the answer.